Welcome to Pop's Party Family, where fun and magic come alive. New videos and shorts every day. Let's laugh, learn, and play. Hey!
The bear kept his promise. The farmer didn't. Part A. Have you ever promised someone a delicious meal and then wished you had never opened your mouth? Imagine inviting the biggest, hungriest black bear in the forest to dinner. Sounds impossible, right? But that's exactly what happened to one family in the peaceful mountain town of Pine Creek, Colorado. What started as a fun family picnic turned into the funniest and most unbelievable adventure anyone had ever heard. Stay with this story until the end, because one tiny bowl of rice pudding would change everything. It was the first weekend of summer vacation, and 7 cousins had gathered at Grandma Rose and Grandpa Jack's cozy log cabin. The house was filled with laughter, running feet, and the delicious smell of fresh pancakes. Every morning someone was playing tag, someone was telling jokes, and someone else was always getting caught sneaking cookies from the kitchen. The grandparents loved every noisy minute of it. For 2 days, Grandpa Jack and his best friend, Uncle Victor, kept whispering to each other. They smiled, nodded, and quickly stopped talking whenever the children came near. "They're definitely planning something," whispered Lily. "Maybe it's a surprise party," guessed Ben. "Or maybe Grandpa finally bought a pet dinosaur," joked Noah. Everyone laughed, but they couldn't stop wondering what the secret was. That evening, Grandpa Jack stood up with a huge grin. "Tomorrow," he announced, "we're all going on a picnic at Silver Falls." The children cheered so loudly that birds flew out of the nearby trees. But Grandpa wasn't finished yet. "And here's the best part," he said. "Grandma Rose gets a day off. We'll gather firewood ourselves and cook lunch outdoors the old-fashioned way." The kids jumped up and down with excitement. Cooking over a real campfire sounded like the greatest adventure ever. That night, nobody wanted to sleep. The cousins talked about what they should cook. After many funny arguments, they finally agreed on vegetable rice and creamy rice pudding for dessert. "Nothing beats homemade rice pudding," said Emma with a happy sigh. "Especially with cinnamon and toasted pecans," added Lily. Soon everyone was dreaming about the sweet dessert waiting for them the next day. Before sunrise, something amazing happened. Even Ben, the biggest sleepyhead in the family, was already dressed before 7 o'clock. Grandpa Jack laughed. "I wish school mornings were this easy." Soon the family loaded picnic baskets, blankets, baseball bats, and fishing poles into the truck. After a short drive through winding mountain roads, they reached beautiful Silver Falls, where sparkling water rushed over giant rocks into a clear river below. Tall pine trees surrounded the area, and colorful birds sang cheerful songs from every direction. The children raced across the grassy field, played catch, skipped rocks across the river, and laughed until their stomachs hurt. Grandma Rose spread a blanket beneath a giant oak tree and watched them with a warm smile. After a while, Grandpa Jack clapped his hands. "Adventure time! Everyone collect dry sticks for the campfire." The cousins hurried into the woods, pretending to be brave explorers searching for treasure instead of firewood. As Emma wandered toward a thick group of trees, Grandma Rose quickly called out, "Emma, sweetheart, don't go too far. Bears sometimes wander through these woods." Emma froze and hurried back. Ben laughed nervously. "Wait, bears?" Grandma Rose nodded with a playful smile. "Oh, yes. And do you know what black bears love almost as much as honey?" The children shook their heads. Grandma leaned closer and whispered, "Creamy rice pudding." Every child stared with wide eyes. "No way!" Noah exclaimed. "Bears eat rice pudding?" Even Grandpa Jack laughed. Grandma Rose smiled and nodded. "Not every bear, but I once heard about one who worked harder than anyone just to taste a single bowl." The children forgot all about baseball, fishing, and collecting sticks. Even Uncle Victor stopped unpacking the food and sat down to listen. Everyone crowded around Grandma, eager to hear the strange story. Grandma Rose folded her hands and began softly. "Many years ago, not far from these mountains, there lived a hard-working farmer named Ethan Carter and his cheerful wife, Sarah. They grew the sweetest bananas and the juiciest peaches in the county. One summer, their harvest was bigger than ever before. They sold all their fruit at the town market and earned more money than they had ever seen. On his way home, Ethan visited an old friend who served him the most delicious bowl of creamy rice pudding he had ever tasted. Ethan couldn't stop talking about it, and Sarah begged him to make some at home. So the very next morning, Ethan grabbed his axe and headed into the forest to collect firewood. Never imagining that before the day was over, he would make a promise to someone no one would ever expect. Great adventures often begin with simple choices, but every promise you make can lead to unexpected consequences. Ethan walked deeper into the tall pine forest, happily whistling his favorite tune. The sunlight danced through the leaves, birds sang cheerful songs, and a cool breeze carried the sweet smell of wildflowers. "Today is going to be a great day," Ethan said as he chopped a few dry branches. But hidden behind a giant oak tree, someone was quietly watching every move he made. Two shiny black eyes slowly opened. It was the biggest black bear Ethan had ever seen. The bear stretched, yawned loudly, and scratched his furry belly. He had just finished eating blueberries and honey and was ready for a nice afternoon nap. But the sound of Ethan's axe had woken him up. Instead of roaring, the bear smiled kindly and called out, "Well, hello there, neighbor. Why are you collecting so much firewood? Are you planning a barbecue?" Ethan nearly jumped out of his boots. His axe slipped from his hands and landed with a loud thump. A talking bear?" he whispered. His knees shook like jelly. Taking a deep breath, he answered politely, "Not exactly. My wife and I are making a special dessert tonight. Creamy rice pudding." The bear tilted his head with curiosity. "Rice pudding? I've never heard of that before." The bear sat down like an excited little kid waiting for a bedtime story. "Tell me everything," he said eagerly. Ethan smiled and explained, "It's made with fresh milk, fluffy rice, brown sugar, butter, vanilla, cinnamon, and crunchy pecans. We cook it slowly until it's warm, thick, sweet, and creamy." As Ethan described every delicious spoonful, the bear's mouth slowly dropped open. His tummy growled so loudly that birds flew out of the nearby trees. "Oh, wow!" the bear cried. "That sounds even better than honey. Please let me try some tonight." Then he stood up straight and proudly said, "I promise I'll be the best dinner guest you've ever had. I'll knock before I come in. I won't scare your chickens, I won't touch your garden. I'll even wash my paws before dinner." Ethan couldn't help laughing. He had never imagined a bear with such wonderful manners. Ethan thought for a moment. Saying no to a friendly bear didn't seem very nice, but feeding such a huge guest might empty their entire kitchen. Suddenly an idea popped into his head. "You can come," Ethan said, "but cooking enough rice pudding takes lots of firewood. If you could bring 50 bundles of dry wood, we'd have plenty for cooking." Ethan secretly smiled to himself. "That should save me weeks of chopping wood," he thought. Instead of complaining, the bear clapped his giant paws together. "Only 50 bundles," he laughed. "That's easy. For a bowl of delicious rice pudding, I'd happily carry 100. Before Ethan could say another word, the excited bear raced into the forest. Rabbits jumped out of the way. Squirrels dropped acorns in surprise. Even a sleepy owl blinked and muttered, "I've never seen a bear so excited about dessert." Ethan hurried back to his farmhouse in Pine Creek, Colorado, carrying his small bundle of wood. On the way, he stopped at the general store and bought fresh milk, rice, brown sugar, vanilla, cinnamon, butter, raisins, pecans, and almonds. When he reached home, he told his wife, Sarah, everything that had happened. At first, she stared at him in complete silence. Then she laughed so hard she had to hold the kitchen table. "You invited a bear?" she asked between giggles. Ethan shrugged and smiled. "Well," he asked very politely. Sarah tied on her blue apron and began making the rice pudding. Soon, the whole house smelled wonderful. The warm scent of vanilla and cinnamon floated out of the windows and across the fields. Even their orange cat sat beside the stove, sniffing the air with wide eyes. Meanwhile, deep inside the forest, the bear worked harder than ever before. He climbed rocky hills, crossed cold streams, and carried giant logs on his shoulders. By sunset, he had gathered exactly 50 huge bundles of firewood. Wiping the sweat from his forehead, he smiled proudly. "Tonight is going to be the happiest night of my life." As darkness slowly covered the forest, The bear lifted all 50 bundles onto his back and began walking toward Ethan's farmhouse with a huge smile on his face. At that very same moment, Sarah tasted the creamy rice pudding. "This is the best we've ever made," she whispered. Ethan picked up a spoon and grinned. "Just one tiny taste before our guest arrives." One spoon became two, two became five, and soon they forgot all about the hungry bear walking down the moonlit road. Outside, heavy footsteps echoed through the quiet night. Thud, thud, thud. A giant shadow stopped outside the farmhouse door, and then came 3 slow, powerful knocks. Knock, knock, knock. Ethan and Sarah looked at each other in horror. The pot behind them was almost empty. Moral of the story, Part A. Keeping your promises is a sign of true character. A small act of greed can quickly grow into a big problem.
Thank you for watching. We're so glad you're here. Like, share, subscribe, and spread the cheer. Join the Hop Street family today. See you